Hi there, my name is Jean Patterson, and I'd like to welcome you to my Instructional Strategies video for the PID program at Vancouver Community College. The nature of many diploma programs now are being delivered in a variety of classroom environments. Many of you may be in a similar situation with regards to students being expected to learn about complex software applications or machine operations, typically known as a lab environment, as well as the theory classes that support those functions and the soft skills to prepare the students for upon graduation, typically known as lecture. I deliver those soft business communication theories that I used to call lecture. I also believed it was one of the most despised classes. It was the perfect opportunity for students to catch up on their sleep. I believed that they didn't understand why they had to be there. But when I received my student feedback, I was surprised. They said I had the passion, they said I knew my material very much, and that they really enjoyed my classes. And I thought, how cool is that? And I continued to lecture. But then I wanted to make it better. I also wanted to make it more challenging and interesting for the students, more participatory. So I started to ask questions, I started to encourage small group discussions, and I started to believe that I could actually make the students part of the lecture. According to Wikipedia, a lecture is an oral presentation that is given by a person to a large group of people to teach or inform them about a particular topic or subject. Today, I'd like to look at various things, from what is a lecture in today's college environment compared to the traditional university environment. What are the components now of an effective lecture? And what are the limitations of lecture? I believe that after this presentation, you'll see those limitations have been greatly reduced. And finally, some tips and tricks on how to develop and deliver an effective lecture. The cognitive scientists determined that people's short-term memory is very limited. In a traditional lecture, there was too much information delivered far too quickly and therefore quickly forgotten. While doing research for this assignment, I came across Eric Mazur, a physics instructor at Harvard University. Eric wanted to provide a higher impact to his lecture. He wanted the students to come away with more. And he developed a model that he refers to as read, think, and reflect. He would give the students a reading assignment, they'd think about it overnight, and they'd come back to his lecture environment to reflect upon what they had read and what they thought about that. The differences between the traditional and the more modern lecture environment: traditionally very large audiences, now we have rooms of 30 students or so. Instead of long speeches, we're breaking those down into 12-minute sections and having some discussion around that, or some kind of activity. The students often not knowing quite what they were doing, listening to this great lecture. Now the students are actually coming up with the relevance and appreciating why they're there. The physical room, typically 300 seats, perhaps a writing surface, and now we have classroom management styles that can move desks around and create a different environment for learning and lecturing. The speaker, a lecturer. Now subject matter experts delivering the information and interacting with the students. When I ask my students, is this a lecture class? They say sort of. They say, in a way, you do a presentation and then we have some discussion on a particular theory. We interact and we engage. Eric Mazur also said, one can forget facts, but you can't forget understanding. Once that understanding is clear and appreciated, the learning will happen. So step by step, what does it look like? First of all, clearing your throat and asking for attention is not effective. By creating an opening with a warm and sincere salutation, the students are immediately engaged and wanting to be there. If possible, ask the students, where did we leave off last class? My students take 8 different subjects at one time in any given semester. So to bring them back to our classes, we have a little discussion about what we discussed last class. If it's new material, ask for powerful questions. These powerful questions, if asked correctly, will have the students understanding the relevance of what that lecture is going to be about that day. Use multiple teaching aids, PowerPoint, bookwork, video presentations, demonstrations of the theory. Provide note-taking opportunities. Example, if I was using this in a classroom, the area where you see the notations coming up would be blank and the students would be writing them as they appear on the screen. Keep it to a maximum of 15 minutes in subsections. It's a theory that a student, a learner can basically focus for 1 minute for every year that they are old. So an average 20-year-old student can concentrate on one topic for about 20 minutes. And finally, have the learners do the summation. Have them summarize what they have achieved in the day, what they've learned, what they've discussed. The lecture itself should be engaging and interactive. Encourage students to ask questions while you're delivering the material. Make it interesting and informative. And more importantly, it needs to be accurate to ensure your credibility. If you're building on lecture material, make it sequential. Make it build on your lecture series. As instructors, try to be passionate and encouraging with your students. Try to remove the word no from your vocabulary. Engage with your learners, have eye contact, be part of their learning environment, be familiar with your students, and have confidence in yourself and your material. Try not to talk down to your learners. Making them believe that they can achieve their goals is the most important thing. Speaking in a monotone voice can be very dry and very boring, so try to liven it up. I don't encourage attempting a generational humor. It's not necessarily, I encourage humor, but to try and identify with people 20 and 30 years younger than you can be a bit of a risk. Don't use your industry jargon just yet. Introduce the students to your discipline and the terminology that's required, but don't try to intimidate them with all that you know. Even if your topic is dry, don't start off with, this is going to be a bit boring, but we'll get through it. Raise the level of your topic. If you do use PowerPoint slides, just use them as a guide. Try not to read directly from them. The benefits and when it fits. Lecture is great when you need to provide historical and relevant background information, to provide the theory that's needed for the labs and the information that they need to conduct those labs. When an opportunity for interaction is present, when lessons will be applied. I give a lesson on how to give feedback, and later on in another class, they actually have to do that. When direction is required in an affective or cognitive domain, lecture works. It's a bit more difficult if a psychomotor assessment will be used, or if the group is too large. So in conclusion, lecture is still there, the process is simply different. I love to employ the read, think, reflect practice. Ask highly effective questions. Work on your questioning. Think about the questions. Think about the answers, then think about how to get that question out. Don't be so sure they're going to hate it. If you make it interesting, they will enjoy it. Encourage peer shifting and peer learning. Reinforce that learning has happened. What is the difference between when you came in this class and when you're leaving this class? Be happy that you're there. They'll understand that, they'll appreciate that, and they'll be grateful. Thank you very much.